Welcome to Costly Conversations. I'm super excited because we have Rayna from G4 Tactical Academy with us today. What's going on, Rayna?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here. This is super exciting.
Yeah, man. I'm so glad we could get you on because you are so interesting. Between you and your husband, fantastic people, just doing like everything. You guys have your hands in like so many pots. Not to mention
Yeah,
you do a lot of gardening, so many
yeah,
pots.
yeah.
So
My hands are always dirty.
love it. I love it. Well, let's
Got like gun oil or
yeah.
dirt or anything on them. Yeah.
I love it. Now let's talk a little bit about it, man. Like for those who are listening, she's sitting in front of this crazy backdrop with all sorts of competition guns and really sweet Gucci'd out just ARs and pistols. What do you even have behind you? What's going on? You don't have to take us through everything.
Well, I'm here today to tell you that we are gonna launch a YouTube channel for G4 Tactical, and this is the preview of our studio. So over here we have our competition guns. We are Tanfolio fans. So these guys are here. They're on their way to go out to Patriot Defense and get milled and cut for carry optics. And then we have some 22s, some plinkers, and then this is just a fun gun. It's a Tokarev. It shoots 7.62,
Oh
which
my
is
God.
super fun. Yeah.
You're shooting
It's a
7.62 out of
pistol
a handgun.
out of a handgun. Yeah.
Incredible.
Super awesome.
Wow.
Above my head, you can barely see it as a shockwave. This is a 7.62 by 39 pistol. This is a AR shotgun, an AR-12 shotgun. We have banana mags for this for competition shooting and 3-gun. And this is a Daniel Defense. And my
Nice.
competition shooting rifle is right up there.
I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys are doing it big, and hopefully people can check you guys out and go subscribe to the YouTube. Hopefully by the time this drops, it'll be up and rolling, and you could get a
Yeah, I hope so.
flood of
That's the
people
plan.
coming to check you out. What kind of content are you guys going to be dropping?
We want to do gun reviews, but we want to do it from the practical shooting perspective. So not just, hey, I went to an indoor range and shot 50 rounds, but I ran it through a competition and I put it through the ringer and see how this gun performs, and as well as gear suggestions and things like that. And we want to really stay away from the foolishness. Like we want it to be lighthearted and fun, but we've seen enough people that are out here just bussing. Like that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to give informed, safe information and save some people some money. Because when we came into this, we were like, we got bags of holsters that don't work. We bought guns that don't have any practical application, and we just want to keep people from doing those things and be able to get out there, defend themselves to whatever capacity that they feel is necessary. If they want to just have fun, or if they want to just protect their home and family.
Awesome. No, I'm completely with that. I think we do need to set the standard on like what is good quality wholesome gun content, and some of the other stuff is fun and all, but how much value is it really adding to the community, or is it just fun? I do think that just from a practical standpoint, we do need a diverse plethora of different shooters from different backgrounds who can talk about guns and demonstrate them in a way that is extremely constructive. I'm not saying that there's none who do that, but I do think that more need to be elevated and bring their best every single time.
Yeah, exactly.
So that said, I know you do a lot, but let's talk about competition shooting. What
Okay.
are you doing with that?
Okay, so competition shooting was something that a lot of shooters, like, you just keep putting off. Like, it's like, I just want to get my groupings tighter, or I just want to be able to move a little faster. But it's literally the thing that pushes you to your absolute limit, and you can learn how to move, shoot, think a lot faster and a lot better. So it seems like a little kooky at first because I saw them and people are wearing like they have like Gucci guns and crazy little holsters and things. You're like, there's not any practical application, but it's called practical shooting for a reason. So you get out there, the courses are different every time, speed, movement, everything is calculated, and it just makes you an overall better shooter. And then when it comes down to women and people of color, you kind of get intimidated looking at who's out there doing it. But it's kind of interesting though, because I've seen a lot in the Asian American community that they grab a gun and they instantly go into that field. And what's interesting about that is they learn accuracy, speed. The learning curve is much steeper, but they get there faster.
Hmm.
So instead of focusing on your indoor range, 2-inch groupings at 5 yards, they're focusing on speed, accuracy, thought, planning, and everything else. And it has a lot of practical implications in everyday life.
No, I say so. And we had Trayvon Barber on the show a few episodes ago, like season 1, actually. Thanks, Trey, for
Mm-hmm.
coming on. And he talked about some of the best or most esteemed shooters in the world, like your Delta guys, people who
Mm-hmm.
are kind of up there in the military world, who people think, oh, they're going to be great shooters. Like they go to competition shooting to get better, or they bring in high end competition shooters to train them to be better. Which not
Exactly.
not saying that competition shooters necessarily inherently know tactics and whatnot, because that's not exactly the case, but
Right.
there is something to learn from somebody who spends all day every day and all their money learning how to line up that A zone and really like nail that thing.
And honestly, that's a part of the reason why we've decided to do it.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I, we aren't law enforcement. We don't have military credentials. Um, Unfortunately, I'm in my 30s now. It might be a little late to go get that, but the practical shooting will give us the notoriety and the skills to impart that on other people and make us better teachers, better coaches, better civilians, and better representatives of our culture.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with having an additional skill under your belt, especially if you
Mm-hmm.
have a business like you guys do with G4 and you're trying to give people information. Why the heck would you not give them as much as possible for the money?
Right.
So
Yeah.
now I know that it seems as if doing competition shooting has afforded you some opportunities. Can we,
Yes.
can we talk about those?
Yeah. So, being in the competition shooting sphere and meeting people and things like that, my husband and I were both given the opportunity to shoot commercials for Smith and Wesson. Just got a call in like a Friday night about this time, like, hey, you want to do some cool shit? And I'm like, well, I mean, it's funny because my husband was like, you were trying to sell me some Herbalife or something because I'm not interested. Like, no, like actual cool shit. And from that, we submitted some videos and we were able to do commercials. So I was premiering the new Smith and Wesson TSX, and he was part of the rifle series for the new Smith and Wesson Volunteer series. So just making those connections and letting people know that we can move and shoot, like we were able to provide representation in those areas and make some good connections and make a little bit of money too.
Yeah, no, I think that's freaking sweet. And the fact that, it's like, hey, we're all doing this thing together. Hey man, come on, I'm doing this thing. I know a guy who can
Yeah,
get you in. Let's make it happen. If that's how it played out, and
yeah.
it's
Hey,
really
it's
cool.
cool. Yeah, it's cool because like they had an objective of having people who actually know how to handle guns
Hmm.
to do the videos. So instead of just hiring actors and then spending the time to teach them like this is how you operate a firearm, it was a lot of a different experience because that expectation was there, the knowledge was there. They took our insights onto like proper gun handling and things like that just to try to make the videos look a little bit cleaner. Because the production company is a production company. They don't
Hmm.
do guns. That's not what they do.
Right.
So, having actual shooters there is invaluable. And it was a really good experience. Um, I didn't love that I was blurred out during the
No,
video,
I
but
actually wanted to bring that up. I do
yeah,
feel like that you are a little too out of focus for my liking.
yeah,
It's kind of annoying, but I love that you were there. But maybe
yeah,
maybe during the next one they could put you front and center. That'd be nice.
yeah. No, it would very, very much be nice. The woman who was front and center, Irasima, she is a woman of color. So that is to a benefit, but I think they did kind of go with the racial ambiguity angle a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
because
but
I
as
actually didn't
well,
realize that. I didn't realize that.
yes, and she is a USPSA shooter as well.
Hmm.
Um, it was a little disappointing because when I came back from the shoot, I got a lot of comments about like, "Hey, I like your look. Your hair is really cool."
Hmm.
And then like where the camera angle started being focused, I kind of did feel like my hair was kind of there. Like, let's make sure that that's a part of the picture. And I was feeling like that when I came home, and I was like, "Hey, babe, like maybe I should get some more headshots done with straight hair because
Oh wow.
yeah, like maybe next time I can be front and center if I have straight hair and I don't have, because I honestly and honestly, like I felt a little bit like a prop, even in the situation. Like some guy would come over and be like, "Hey, scoot over just a little bit, like move over just this." Like it was kind of really like that, and it wasn't necessarily the greatest feeling. And so I was really like, I need to do. Should I just get some headshots with some straight hair? And he was like, absolutely not. Like this is how you wear your hair. This is how you live your life. Like
That's
do the
right.
damn thing. And I'm like, well, maybe if I had straight hair and I sent the curly hair and the straight hair, they'd have options. And then, some little black girls can see the black girl in the photo. Like, does it matter if my hair is straight or curly?
I think he was right. I think you got to be yourself and let people
Yeah,
appreciate you for you. Like, what? Not I'm not trying to like tell you how to think, but like, man, like
yeah,
to all the little black girls out there, I know my audience isn't majority black girls. Like, rock your hair. If you like it like
yeah,
that, do it like that. I let people have their options if they want to do whatever they want to do, but wear your hair. And I know that's such a difficult thing for black women for so long, and people don't get that. Like if you ask anybody outside of the sphere of black women, well, how do you feel about your hair? Like it's going to be completely different responses just with the history and all these different things. And
yeah,
hopefully people can understand where we're coming from. That it's a very sensitive topic, and the fact that you thought those things it's sad for me because I want every black woman to feel good about their crown per se. So
yeah. I mean, that's what it is. Like, it's a crown. Like,
yeah.
and you need to wear it and you need to have your shoulders high and feel good about it. Like, but unfortunately, it's super, super difficult because, transitioning from the straight hair, like I did notice that my perceptions were changed. And
Mm,
every now and then, I had to get out the feeling like you go to a formal event, straighten your hair. That was something I had to get over
mm,
because that's kind of how you perceive it. Like, hey, you're going to a wedding, get your hair straightened. And then you go to the wedding and then everyone says, oh, you're so pretty.
mm.
Why don't you do that more often? And
Ooh.
then, it also starts freezing up because the wedding is outside. And then it's like, oh, wow, you're getting so big. You look like Diana Ross, who obviously is the hair queen of, the entire existence of hair. But at the same time, it's not coming from the place you want it to come from.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's such a tough conversation because sometimes you just want people to like shut up and don't ask about it, don't inquire, just appreciate, don't touch it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't touch it.
right,
Don't
like
touch the
please
crown.
stop,
Don't touch the
please
crown.
stop.
Don't, like, I see the hands and I'm like, you're not going to touch it. And then they touch it. Like,
It's like,
please don't touch it.
no,
Like,
that
I need to take some crap for God to, like, keep people from trying to touch
right. There's some moves. There are
it.
some moves just for that, like for
Yeah, I
those who
need to
want to
learn
grab
some
hair.
moves. Yeah.
But honestly, like that's tough, and I don't want to
Thank
maybe
you.
like make anybody feel like, oh man, just because you've thought about people's hair that you're some bad person, because that's not the case. But
Yeah.
definitely a certain level of sensitivity I think is important in life. I think
Mm-hmm.
many people per se in the gun community have a hard time being sensitive because it's like all rah rah dude man stuff, huzzah.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, um, you do want to consider how people feel.
Yeah. And then, like, within the gun community, it kind of extends even beyond hair.
Mm,
Um, so I kind of got into a conversation about having a la carte courses that are like 30 minutes to an hour instead of having a full day Saturday course.
mm-hmm,
Well, what the gun community needs to realize is that women are in this sport, and I have tons of clients who are breastfeeding. They can't spend 3 hours with me in the middle of, the mud pit at ETTS. Like,
mm-hmm.
they need to breastfeed, they need to get back to their babies. I can't tell you how many women have told me, like, my husband is at home with our kids for the first time, all of them by himself. Like, I'm worried. So, me teaching them a 30-minute to an hour class is what they need, and I want them to be safe. So, like, you can't just do 8 hours on a gun range, even if you want to. If
Yeah,
you have childcare and you have the time, like, you need to be able to have a clean, safe environment to breastfeed and then refrigerate,
right. That's
and
that's
that's
huge.
not something, yeah, and that's not something that is a luxury at many outdoor ranges or even indoor ranges.
Absolutely
So
not.
I think that we kind of have to think about that. And a lot of instructors, I don't know if they necessarily have that insight that,
Well,
You got to get back to your kids.
I don't think that many instructors are thinking about it just because it's not been something that we have to think about. And I'm not calling myself an
Yeah.
instructor, but dudes
Yeah.
in the gun space, we don't have to think about that. Most of our wives
Yeah.
don't really shoot like that anyways. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the fact that
But then you want her to.
no,
And then
yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
you got to stay home with the kids all day. And it's like, don't get mad at me as an instructor because I have classes for those women that, that are a little bit shorter.
I'm not entirely sure who would be angry at you for learning how to provide quick insights and be able
Yeah.
to charge for it, which is important for you as a businesswoman, but also to provide a high level of value for that time. I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure how long people's courses are generally, but I do know some of them can go on for a while. And
Yeah.
to be honest, depending on what I mean, your concealed carry certification course is 4 hours. That's a long time, and that's just in
Yeah.
classroom for the most part. Um, so I'm just curious to see what people actually want, and at the end of the day, let's get people what they can benefit from. And I don't know that 30
Yeah.
minutes is long enough to really get out there, set up, shoot, and all that stuff. But I mean, I'm sure it's negotiable at a certain point.
Well, it's the a la carte classes are like, for instance, like I have a rapid fire class. It's at an indoor range. You can do it outside if you have the time. But learning how to shoot faster, a holster draw class, a pistol selection, like these are shorter classes because it's just for the everyday person and woman who's out here trying to get a firearm and become proficient with it. Instead of, hey, guys, let's go outside to ETTS. So drive an hour out there and, let's run and gun and, oh, yeah, you need to have these shoes and this tactical belt and this and that and all these things. And it's just like, let's go learn how to use a firearm safely and efficiently and just get comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm. No,
Like those are
absolutely.
different classes. And I think there's different demographics and different people at different times who need those things.
Absolutely. I'm 100% on board with that. Now, we talked about Smith and Wesson, and we talked about how, slightly disappointed we were that you weren't featured as prominently as they could have / should have, but also as much as you personally would have wanted. I did notice that Isaac, your husband, he was front and center for a lot. I wish he had a bigger gun, but but
Yeah.
I really felt like they did a decent job of showing him, moving and shooting and doing
Yeah.
different
No,
stuff.
absolutely. Yeah.
Do you feel like there's maybe a different kind of bias or understanding towards that, or was it just incidental because of the type of shoot it was?
So do you want to get costly, as you say?
This is what we do. Let's keep it costly.
Let's keep it costly. Okay. So part of what I'm thinking, and honestly, like I haven't spoken to them about this and I don't know, is that when the first video for the CSX came out, there was a lot of commentary about it being a chick gun.
Mm.
So not only did we do the video shoot, we did also a ton of photos and things like that. I think that they ended up pulling back a little bit on that because I don't know how it ended up playing out. Just from a business perspective, right?
As
because
in, they didn't really feel like they were moving the gun the way they should have.
Correct.
I think it's a bad gun, personally.
If...
I'm not paid by Smith & Wesson, so I can say that.
I'm not going to say anything about the feasibility of that gun, but me personally, I prefer a full-size gun.
Sure.
This is my gun.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a gun. That's a real gun.
This is what I need to see. This is what I need to see every day.
And that's the M&P. Is that long slide on the M&P 2.0?
This is an M&P 5-inch with a hollow sun optic that I had milled and an Apex trigger.
There you go. For the audio listeners, of course.
Yeah.
That's a good gun.
Describe it just a little bit. So I do like the M&Ps. It wasn't perfect out the box. That's why I added the Apex trigger and had the slide mill. But
I
now
think
they
the triggers
come
are trash on
optic
the
right.
M&Ps.
Yeah.
Like hot garbage.
Yeah.
So.
When you buy it, like factor in that Apex trigger in your buy. Like gun plus trigger, that's the cost of the gun. So yeah. Yeah, so I feel like when they did that, they kind of pulled back a little bit because I also noticed that the woman in the video that my husband did, they kind of cut her out a little bit too. I don't feel like she was featured as much as the guys.
Not to my recollection. I mean, she had a few shots, but she didn't get the shine necessarily.
Yeah, like they did like a pan up and it's like up to her shoulders. Like, hey, it's a chick and she has hair. Like, that's kind of how they did it. So I don't know if they're kind of like trying to, pander to that male customer a little bit more. And maybe they're afraid because they're like, hey, if they think it's a chick gun, maybe the guy won't buy it and he won't buy it for his wife.
Hmm.
But it's kind of like we got to get past this point where there's no such thing as a chick gun. There is a gun that fits an individual. And
So
that's what we need to go by.
I do 100% agree with that. But I also do know, like in show business slash sales slash the firearms industry, there are some what they call practical considerations. And at the end of the day, it's like, okay, so who is our audience? Our audience is these people. Who statistically who buys our guns? These people. They're only going to buy it if they see these things. Especially, okay, so the gun didn't get reviewed super well. My friend, he's a competition shooter. He torched the thing. He was like, the mag doesn't even seat properly. It's a bad gun. Why'd they put this thing was rushed? They leaked the gun and then they dropped it and it's trash. I'm like, golly. Yeah. So don't buy that gun unless you find that it's great. Go try the gun. Go shoot it and decide if you want to.
Yeah.
But don't expect your boy to get any Smith & Wesson money. Just saying. I'm just saying. But just. Not just to finish my thought, I really do feel like as much as we have these practical considerations, okay, we're selling guns to a mostly like 90% of our sales are to men except for the M&P EZ, but that comes in a few colors. I don't like that gun either. I haven't liked it since it was out in 380, and then they switched it to 9, and then I was like, well, maybe, but other than that, not into it. But I guess it makes some sense that they would feel that way, but if you are going to say if the mission is to bring more women shooters in, stick to the mission. Yeah, it can change a little bit, but like accomplish your mission. Appeal to women shooters.
And especially because who's buying more guns now? Women. And of that group, Black women. Like that's who's buying guns right now. And so having representation makes your brand look great because a lot of women get into the 2A community. They don't see women who look like them. Mm-hmm. That's not who they see. And so when you go into the store and everyone behind the counter doesn't look like you, the people on the website didn't look like you, like honestly, from a business perspective, that's an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And if you really want to tap a certain market, you show up. Mm-hmm. Like really, they should be just I'm not saying this to flatter you, but I really do feel like they should be reaching out and be like, hey, Rayna, so thank you for doing the commercial. We want you to do a whole series of commercials here. We want you to represent for these. We're going to target these markets down in LA or this and this and that. Can you do some this? Now, maybe you're not the one specifically that they want. It'll be another Black woman. Maybe not. But I really do feel like if you want to accomplish the mission to appeal to this new base of gun buyers and people who are getting into it, get behind the people who are here. And you're here. You're doing it.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel.
Yeah. And I'm kind of like, I feel like a Smith & Wesson is a really good price point and quality level for a first-time gun buyer. So I stand by the brand, and I have sold a lot of them to my clients. And, I feel like, I guess I would just say, like, I was like, I made you guys a lot of money, even before the commercial situation and everything else. And when you look back at it, it's kind of like when you make the assessment of the brands, like I have to consider reliability, size and fit and everything for my client. But at the same time, representation is also very, very important.
Sure.
Especially if you go to the gun store and there's a picture of someone looking like you purchasing a gun. It makes it seem more okay and less, less icky. I mean, like, icky is like never the word I want to use. Sure. But, when you see a big buff guy with like a tactical belt and like some plate armor, it kind of makes you feel like this isn't where you want to go. Because it's like, hey, I go to the gym and I pick my kids up from daycare after work. Like, I'm not expecting the war to happen today. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah.
No, I think that is interesting. And I know people get kind of tired of like the identity conversations and whatnot. I mean, I get that too. But at the end of the day, we really do need to consider like, okay, how can we make people feel even more comfortable coming into the space, talking about the Second Amendment, talking about guns, talking about self-defense, defending their family, and helping. And it's not just me and you who are talking about these things. There are other really big names in like 2A media who have talked about this. Like, how do we appeal to pregnant women to carry a firearm? How do you do it?
Yeah.
How about you try, first of
I
all?
mean, is it even, do we even let them know that it's safe or not to fire a weapon and be exposed to lead while you are pregnant?
Because I've seen some pregnant women at industry events shooting guns.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is that a conversation that's even being had?
Yeah. And I've seen some like some blogs that have talked about it, but there are things like that because I mean honestly, like you want to protect your baby as much as possible, but at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, you need to protect the life and safety of you and your baby and your entire family at the end of the day. So it's not a conversation that we should have and it makes people nervous. They're like anything. Like especially like think about like a first time mom. Like everything is new all over again. Like
Mm-hmm.
you thought you were living your life and you're doing a great job and then you're just like, oh, there's a person living inside me. Like there's more stuff to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, can I go to the gun range today? Is that safe? Is the noise gonna like I'm supposed to be playing Beethoven? This is totally not Beethoven right
It's
now.
not
Like
Beethoven.
this is not Beethoven.
No,
So
I'm there.
like I mean, those are all the factors that come in, and that's like why you need more women in the industry to talk about it and talk about your experiences and everything like that.
Absolutely. And so, really, just to wrap up, I think it's dope that you had an opportunity to do it. But obviously, if there should be another opportunity, it could be done better, much better. And I think the whole
Yeah,
marketing system should be overhauled. To be fair to Smith and Wesson and other brands, even though it's been a while, basically it's been a long time coming for them to really, put certain people front and center, not necessarily out of just some identity politics thing, but like just to show that this is thing. People need to be able to see it. I've seen guys specifically like our guy Ken Scott from Perfectus Group. He's one
hmm
of the brand ambassadors for Smith and
yeah,
Wesson, but I'm not sure that he appeals to just everyone in the black community. He's big
yeah,
guy, former cop, cool guy. I love him to death. He's
yeah,
awesome. But
yeah.
is he appealing to the market of women?
You know, I don't know about women specifically, but I was disappointed to see in the black community at large. He wasn't. In a black gun owners Facebook group, someone asked, "Hey, who's your favorite black YouTuber or Gunstagrammer or whatever?"
Mm-hmm.
And not mentioned in any of the comments. Now,
Mm.
it's obviously a subset of a subset. It's like a not a good thing, but I'm like, wow, he's like out here doing the Smith and Wesson thing all the
He's a
time.
big
He's
deal.
got a channel. He's a big deal, and you guys aren't watching his content. Like, why is that? I
Why?
don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a hard conversation because sometimes I get a little discouraged if I don't see the numbers that lead to the impact that I'm looking for. On this side, it's like,
Yeah,
oh man, I really feel like I'm making content that should be really accessible to
yeah,
black gun owners, but I'm not sure that they specifically love it to the point where it's spreading like wildfire. And I
yeah,
understand everything's a process, but I do have some concerns. We could talk about that
yeah,
offline. So,
yeah.
yeah.
But it's just like the last thing about the Simpsons commercial. I don't know what else is coming out, so there's more footage that wasn't featured in the particular videos that were already released. So maybe more is to come, and you guys will get to
Hopefully,
see.
I think that'll be cool.
Yeah,
And man,
yeah,
I'm super. I am very glad to see that you got a check. You showed up. You did your thing.
yeah,
That's dope. But obviously, we want to see more. We want to see
yeah.
more.
Yeah,
But let's talk about why people should want to see more. Like they're probably like, okay, Rayna, she seems cool. She does some competition. She shoots, but who the heck is Rayna? Like, who is she? Why should we care? Rayna, where are you from? What are you doing? Why should we care?
All right. So I am from Detroit, Michigan. I am a product of Detroit Public Schools, and then I went to University of Michigan for undergrad. Then I went to Georgetown Law School in DC. Then I moved to Texas, and
So you're a lawyer like Coley Noir?
yeah, I am an attorney. I'm licensed to practice law in the state of Texas. I do a lot of small business law, contracts, and things like that. Growing up, I always expected that I would just be super corporate America. I never anticipated that I would be an entrepreneur or a hustler that's just like, this is interesting. Let's do it and let's do it well and let's do this other thing well and like all these things. Like I was totally expecting to do the 9 to 5 thing and get that check every Friday. and, hang out with my family on weekends.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think it's cool that you've kind of evolved into something different because it's not every day we get to see it. It's not every day that we
Yeah,
get to see it done well because a lot of businesses they start and they end
yeah,
before you even know who they are. And a lot of people they're kind of doing the same thing. A lot of us are doing hair, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. That's great, but
yeah,
we can expand into other things like, hey, let's do a fitness brand. Let's do let's
mhm,
talk about all the brands that you and your husband have, all
yeah.
25 billion of them.
Okay, so we started off in 2016 as CrossFit Aesthetics. And then there was some issues within the CrossFit community itself regarding race and inclusivity. So we got rid of the CrossFit name and we became Aesthetic Athletics. So at this point, we have been operating in a over 7,000 square foot facility in West Dallas. Pandemic hit, our lease was up. It was time to pivot. So we downsized into a personal training studio and then expanded within the gun space to G4 Tactical as well. So it's just about staying on your toes and remaining dynamic and doing everything you can as like society changes and you have to grow and evolve with it. And unfortunately, I didn't cause the pandemic. That I didn't see it coming. I didn't know that was a thing, but it was like, hey, now it's time to pivot and we got to make the pivot. Personal training and tactical training is where we're at now. And it's just a matter of just growing and continue to excel in every space as best as possible.
Yeah, well, I think that's good. I found it interesting that you said there was issues with CrossFit. I'd never really considered that there could be
Yeah.
race issues in CrossFit. It's CrossFit, like it's like going to the gym or
Yeah.
having a club. Like
It
what?
was
How?
the founder and CEO, Greg Glassman. He made some controversial statements regarding George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of organizations back down and CrossFit gyms back down. And then they sold it to someone else and tried to do a rebranding like, hey, it's better. But at the end of the day, it wasn't paying the affiliate fee wasn't helping my people. Like when we were operating as a group fitness facility, we like to say that we were the most colorful gym in Dallas
Hmm.
because we served a different population, a different community. And, that was unseen and unheard of, especially in CrossFit. Like when you look at videos of CrossFit people, you don't see people who look like me. You might see one or two, little sprinkles in the cookies, but like, yeah, we were a full M&M rainbow sprinkle cookie
That's
when we
awesome.
were operating in that capacity.
Yeah. Well, I do. I mean, if they've seen you guys definitely work out, and
Yeah,
it's really interesting to see like, hey, like you guys were bringing people into CrossFit that normally traditionally just aren't really there. Just if
yeah,
people kind of know the demographics of it, and I don't, so I'm taking your word for it. That said,
yeah,
it does kind of hurt my heart a little bit that you guys did feel like you had to take a step back and stop really kind of being a part of that in that way, but you're still out there, still helping people, still,
yeah.
um, making
Yeah,
yourselves
functional
available.
fitness is still a thing.
Yeah.
And, they own the word CrossFit, but they don't own functional fitness. They don't own rowing and jumping and jump roping or any of those things. So
Yeah,
that
I
is
didn't
for
think
everyone.
CrossFit was an actual company. I thought it was just like a type of workout, like a workout system rather. That's interesting.
No, you got to say functional fitness if you talk about a type of workout.
Wow, that's interesting.
CrossFit is CrossFit.
CrossFit is like a it's so karate, right? Karate
Yeah,
is I guess the functional fitness in a sense.
yeah,
Not necessarily
yes.
like is
Or
this,
martial
but
arts. Yeah,
martial arts is all sorts of stuff. But if you go to like Nisei
yeah,
Goju Ryo Karate, that's under this specific brand ran by these guys. Got it.
yeah. They don't have to pay anybody a check every year to say CrossFit.
Yeah, but wow. That's
Yeah.
I've never heard these before, so I'm like kind of like
Yeah.
wow. I'm
Yeah, you got to write somebody a check every year to say CrossFit. If
wow.
you want your logo to have CrossFit on it, if you want your website to have CrossFit on it, you write that check.
And you
Check.
felt like the money that you were investing wasn't going into an organization that was matching the values that you two had as a couple slash company that was bringing in a
Yeah.
lot of people.
And our population that we serve.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like
So what happened to you?
yeah.
What happened to that population? Did you guys abandon them, or like what happened?
Some of us moved into us with the personal training space. Others did pursue like their functional fitness at other facilities. And, considering like the pandemic happened, everything was in flux. Like people had
Sure.
different financial situations, people had to move, because they lost their jobs or they want to be closer to family. Everything is in flux. So we stay in touch with a lot of our clients from there. Like one of the things that was we were very proud of in that space was that we knew every single member's name. So it's kind of weird when people would come in because there is also a thing where people like to rob gyms.
Really?
Yeah, and
Like
we
just take
call all of
barbells
our
or
own.
like what?
No, so like members, like you stick your gym bag in the corner and stuff, and people will go in and steal phones or grab bags or anything like that. Like, it was particularly prolific in California. We never had that experience there, but we did have some shady people kind of walk in every now and then, and it's like, hey, I don't know you. They're like, oh, I'm just chilling, and they're like, I'm like, I'm the owner. I teach all the classes. I know every member's name. What are you doing here? Then they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna go.
Wow,
Go
that's
there.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
So that was our gym. Like we knew everyone's name. I
it was
kind of
just an
sadly knew a
intimate.
lot of dog names. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you
Probably
were
more
in there.
dogs than kids, honestly.
You know what? Some people are like that though. But I do want to know because I know it's more than just the fitness brand, and I know you guys converted from CrossFit to more functional fitness and whatnot, and still killing it in that
Yeah.
place. But I do know that at the end of the day, you guys do way more than that. As in, you do
Yeah.
some meal prepping and food and whatnot, nutrition.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Okay. So I love gardening and plants and everything like that. So I have an outdoor space, and I do meal preps for people. In the summertime, like most of the produce comes straight from my garden. I'm starting seed starting for the next year. And also like all of that comes into this like survival mentality. Like I don't know anyone on this planet who can say 2020 didn't change them. But not being able to buy food was something that I never expected to experience. And my grandmother is from Mississippi. So I know about food insecurity, and they were good because they had a farm. So this
Mm,
is where, I say I get my green thumb from. But at the same time, like I'm like, yeah, grandma, that's cool. I can go to a grocery store. And then
right.
it's like, you're gonna take the grocery store from me? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I can't buy food? Like that's unacceptable. So it was
Yeah.
like, I gotta do something about that. So I started growing my own produce. I would like to get some chickens, but the city's not on my side for that. But one day maybe I'll get some land.
Maybe.
But
Shoot,
yeah,
I know a girl who's
yeah,
off grid now, and it's interesting to watch.
I would love to do that. But yeah, just like self-sustaining, and then like also understanding that they said like the police aren't gonna come for you, and you might not have food. Like beyond even the COVID situation, like there was a hurricane, and they said if you can't get out of the city, maybe because you're too broke and have nowhere to go,
Mm,
you are on your own. We will not have any city services for you. Like that is not okay. So that's why it's like food, fitness, firearms. Like I need to be able to move and protect myself. I need to be able to feed myself. And that's what we do. So then there's also G4 Tactical, which is a part of that as well. And that's where we're trying to educate people on firearm safety, how to use a firearm. And then it's all tying back to the fitness thing because you can be the best shot in the world, but if you can't run, jump, squat, like, or even sustain a high level of stress because of your cardiovascular health, that's unacceptable. So that's what we're trying to do. And everything kind of just moves around that mission. So that's why it's G4 food, fitness, firearms. And the last one is, can I swear on your podcast like I've been doing?
I mean, if it, say what you gotta say. I mean, it's up to
The
you.
last one is fuckery or fun. So like, because we are like, we're coaches, and so we're always those people who are like, hey, did you like eat well today? Did you like, did you work out? Did you like? We're all about accountability. So then it's like, hey, we do have a little fun. Like, I enjoy a cocktail. Like, you know,
Sure.
we're people.
Yeah. I mean, you guys seem like a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
I really like, man, like what got you out of the lawyer thing? Like you went, I'm a lawyer, but I'm going like full entrepreneur. Like, yes, you still do some lawyer stuff, but Do you just hate waking up early and going to work? Like, what's the deal?
No, because I get up at 4. No, 5.
Oh
5 a.m.
wow, geez. Well, if it's not four, I
Yeah,
don't
I get an
know.
extra hour. I get, yeah, 5 a.m. No, it was so when I went to law school, it was I think it's 2011. It was a really bad time in the legal industry. But I was being me. I was extremely hard-headed. I was like, I'm gonna go to the best law school, my dream school, Georgetown University Law Center. And it was a bad time for lawyers. Everyone's like, don't do it. Legal jobs are hard to come by and everything's difficult. And that was the story we had. So I pursued it. I got my degree. I think that my degree gave me a level of confidence and also confidence that I wouldn't be able to accomplish what I do today without it. But when I came out of law school, I did not get the $160,000 a year job that, I was sold on when I signed up for that
Hmm.
level of student debt. But I still had the skills, I had the knowledge, I had the stamina, I had the will. So I moved to Texas. I took the bar exam here, joined the bar, did some interviews at some local firms that honestly didn't make it. Like I didn't get the job, but then a couple months later, I saw that those firms had been disbanded. So it
Wow.
was just a time and influx within the legal industry, and it was just a matter of I can go get it myself, or I can sit around and cry about it.
Wow. No, and that's actually something that I would implore many people to consider. Not everybody's really built for the life of like, if we don't actually make this money, we just gonna have to skip some meals type, that kind of stress.
Yeah,
But I do think that people need to get it in their mind that if it's not being given to you and nothing really is given to you, like go get it. So go
yeah,
get everything. Go get everything that was
yeah,
promised to you. And then some.
yeah, yeah.
Do it.
Don't leave anything on the table.
Why would you? Like it's yours. Why would you?
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I do want to talk a little bit about like yeah, you got into meal prepping, you're doing all this stuff. Um,
yeah.
why did you get into meal prepping and what's that like?
Um, so the main reason I did is just because my husband used to just get a tray of chicken breast and pour some salt-free Mrs. Dash on there
Oh
and throw
jeez.
it in the oven
Poor baby.
and then eat a bowl of spinach.
What is you
And
doing?
when I so when I moved in, I was like, that's what you eat. Like, you don't gotta eat that. So I'm like I said, we're both from Detroit and my family is in Detroit, but my family is Southern. Like my mother, she loves her butter, and my dad is right there with her. And my grandma, she likes pork fat. So,
Of course. She from Mississippi. I
yeah,
get it. My grandparents live
she's
there.
from Charleston, Mississippi.
Golly, Jackson.
So my mom is like, butter is better than that, right? And I'm like, well, we can try some other stuff. So it just came down to researching and learning and things like that because it was like, you can eat this well and it can be delicious. Like eating food should not be suffering. And that is why a lot of people don't eat well because they're like, I cannot eat another piece of lettuce. And quite honestly, most salads aren't even good for you. But like,
Mm.
so it was just a matter of taking what I learned from my mom and my grandmothers on both sides. My dad's mom is was very into Cajun food and things like that. She's from Mobile, Alabama.
Okay.
And so just really like just looking at those old recipes, substituting things, like making things like, hey, this is a fresh thing. Why is it bad? Oh, we cooked it in pork fat. Well, let's try something else. And still just making it delicious, but also nutritious. So it was just experimenting like that. And I was making my own food like that because I'm like, hey, bud, like you're not about to be the fit one. And then I'm over here, not, but I'm not eating what you're making. So then I started cooking it, and he's like, "Well, can I have some? Like that smells really good."
Mm.
And then when he started eating it, then he was like making more of his fitness goals than he was before because he was actually eating the food and enjoying it. So it's just a matter of moderation. And I honestly, I love to cook. I love to grow food to cook it
Hmm.
and make things and taste things and make them all delicious. But at the same time, like, you know, like I said, I got to be able to move, squat, jump, do things, make a good example for my clients. And so I figured out some recipes, and now I share them with other people and do my meal prep business.
That's awesome. I love it, and I think that's fantastic because we all of us, except for those who don't, struggle with making food that works, buying stuff that it says organic. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
why do I still feel like crap? And at the end of the day,
yeah,
I think if maybe people could tap in with you or people like you, not necessarily it has to be you, but you and people like
yeah,
you to give us the information that we need to be able to go out there and do it. Um, that could be helpful. So
yeah.
thank you for that, and I really hope that people take that to heart. Like, hey, like take control of your health and get
Yeah,
to the
you
next
don't have to
level.
eat salad all day or boiled chicken or whatever. Like,
Boiled chicken,
I'm
that
all,
just sounds like a nightmare.
yeah, like that's not what it's about. Those things aren't sustainable. Like, enjoy life. Like, it takes me a little bit more work because I look at a recipe and I'm like, I have to find substitutions for five things on here, and certain flours don't react the same way, and I have ruined things. But it's worth it because you can have a good time and enjoy food and enjoy life and enjoy time with your family.
So you don't cook with flour?
Um, no, I do.
Okay,
It's just different kinds. Like, I have like whole wheat flour for certain things,
okay.
and then like I have almond milk flour, almond flour for other things. Like, just trial and error, and there's a lot of error involved.
Well, there you go. Well, hopefully people can take a look at that and see what works. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little a bit about politics. Dun dun
Okay.
dun. So most people they get a little freaked out when they hear it because either you say something that they love and they're just like, "Yeah, you're amazing," or you say something that completely offends them and they're just like, "Oh, I hate this person and they don't like Trump or they like Trump," or
Yeah.
it gets annoying. It really does. But
Yeah.
let's just talk about it. Let's keep it 100, keep it costly, and keep it moving.
Yeah.
Where are you on
All
the
right.
political spectrum?
Okay. So the summary I like to use is actually from a Facebook meme, which I don't encourage anyone to ever use as a source of information, but this is kind of perfect.
Yeah.
I think that gay married couples should be able to defend their marijuana plants with guns. That's
Okay.
where I'm at. So,
Yeah. So freedom,
so
freedom,
I think
freedom.
it, yeah, like I think I would be um considered libertarian, and I wanted to consider myself a democratic libertarian, but over time I've come to realize that that may not be as possible as I want it, and I consider myself democratic libertarian because I believe in student loan debt relief. Uh, Still 100% there, and but the big one was healthcare. And considering everything that's gone on over the past couple years, I don't feel like it's safe or wise to necessarily trust government with your healthcare.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like healthcare is a right. Like, you should be able to go into a hospital and receive care, especially for families who may have a child with special needs or have complications during birth. Like, that's not a bill that people can plan for or anticipate, and it's not feasible to expect someone to pay that,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when it comes down to people making mandates about what your healthcare can look like, I believe like, and employers do this as well. So for instance, like, I think it was an airline, I'll be safe to say, an airline was saying that if you weren't vaccinated, your healthcare premiums for the month were going to go up for the unvaccinated employees,
Really.
which it kind of makes sense in the sense that that could cost everyone else more money because you made a choice about your body and you should have to pay for it. However you feel about vaccines, okay, sure. But on the other spectrum is if you're not okay with vaccines, or if it was something else. Like, what if they said, we're going to require everyone to take some sort of contraceptive because we don't want you to take paid time off to have kids, or we don't want to pay for your kids or have to deal with this, or maybe they will enforce you to have contraceptive or not. So I don't think that anyone should have control over your health or your body. So I am honestly struggling with my politics right now because I do feel like healthcare is a right, but at the same time, I don't think other people should be able to dictate what your healthcare is. Because you can be great with, hey, I love vaccine mandates. Everybody should get one. That's awesome. But if it's something you don't agree with, then
Hmm.
what are you going to do?
No, absolutely.
And considering, when people pay for things, they feel like they have control over you and those things.
Absolutely. I actually just had a somebody told me a story of they were working for somebody, and the company bought them some items, and when she
Yeah.
left the company, they were just like, and we gonna need those back. Now, in my opinion, that was completely ratchet and out of control. Like,
Yeah.
they should have just walked away and been like, nah,
Yeah.
you got me these things as a gift. But people feel like if they paid for certain things, that in a way you owe them, and they own you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I'm taking care of all your meals, and I think this is where maybe the feminist movement kind of got started, and maybe kind of went got really all its steam is, hey, all these men taking care of all the bills, without me you're nothing. And then it's like, well,
Yeah.
we don't want to be stuck in that position, so we're just gonna
Yeah.
go get our own bag and do our own thing, and
Yeah.
you're not gonna hold this as leverage so you can act badly, let's just put it like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And that's going to encompass all the evil things that men can do. So, no, I completely get it. I completely get it. Not to upset all my listeners who are anti-feminist or who are feminist, and
Yeah.
I butchered that whole thing, and they're going to be like, well, actually, well, leave me alone.
Oh no, of course. You can't get it right.
No,
And
I
that's
can't.
why like I'm actually pretty,
Struggling with my
you know,
politics.
yeah. I mean, it is a struggle. Like you constantly evolve because it's like this thing I like, and then this other thing though is like, all right, well, yeah, I kind of like it, but it's like, well, what if the tables were turned
Absolutely.
and they told me I couldn't do that? Like I just think that people should be able to like pursuit of happiness, right? Like
Yeah.
life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is kind of the thing that I think we should talk about a little bit more. And then like then I say that, and then someone has to bring in some sort of inappropriate sexual relationship between some people, and it's like
Right.
that's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
It's about consenting adults that are making decisions about how they want to live their lives that do not negatively influence other people. And I think that that's where we have to go. And then that gets even more complicated. Like I said, I'm struggling with politics right now when it's things like vaccinations. Because then it's like, well, you not doing it is impacting me and this and that. And it's just like, how did something that I choose to do with my body end up impacting society as a whole? Like
Right.
we're in a whole different space right now that, 5 years ago I wouldn't have ever seen it.
No, I didn't see it coming, but I guess we should have.
Yeah.
Now, people have
Yeah.
talked about it often. Like in Europe, they say that, yeah, if they want to pull, fact check me on this. Like if you're on some sort of end of life care, that basically the state can pull the plug on you because they don't want to pay for it anymore. And
Yeah.
if that's true, like that's kind of horrifying. It's like, man,
Yeah.
this person, they have some sort of illness and they might pull through, 30% chance. Maybe you like those years if you could potentially get them, but
Yeah.
it's not you and your family
Yeah.
making that choice because you and your family aren't paying for it, buddy. We're paying for it. I get to
Yeah.
choose.
I mean,
I'm tired of paying.
even in America, there's a whole like field of law considered healthcare ethics.
Mm,
And so questions come down to, a couple has a child and maybe they want the child to have, a particular set of life-saving care, or maybe for their religious or personal beliefs, they don't.
hmm. Like blood
And so
transfusions and
like,
whatnot.
yeah. And so like they're like, no, I don't want this to happen. But sometimes they're like, I don't want my kid to suffer. And the doctors are like, oh yeah, we can totally save them. And other times they're like, I still believe that if we keep trying, or if I move them to this other hospital or try this other treatment, like it'll work out. Like doctors in courts have been making these decisions in the United States for a very long time.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do decide to do these life-saving treatments, and the child is left with um, difficulties that they have to suffer through the rest of their life that require constant care
Yeah.
and not only finances for the treatments at that point, but throughout the child's life. And even after the parents are gone, this child will never be able to be functional on their own. Like those are questions that we have to think about. And so doctors and courts are doing it now.
Yeah, no, it's
So
serious.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
all very
So
serious.
do we want the government to do it as well?
I don't trust the government as far as I can throw 'em, like each and every member.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, everyone has their own views. So just like, and those are the tough questions in
it's
terms
not
of like,
easy.
yeah, like do you defer to the parents? Do you defer to the doctors? Do you
Right.
defer to the judge that's supposed to be, a arbiter of everything good that is neutral in this
Hmm.
situation. And it's like that person is still a person.
Yeah.
They have whatever law school they went to, whatever philosophies they study, whatever religious, practices that they have. Like that's still a person.
Hmm. No, it's really interesting to see some of the stuff that maybe you might come across your timeline. One of the She came on the show, Rhonda Mary, is all about bodily
Yeah.
autonomy and being able to have a home birth and different things like that. And sometimes, if you look close enough, you'll see instances where you won't be taken care of the right way in these institutions. If you try to leave too early, they'll come and do different things. Like I saw an instance where a police officer snatched a baby away from a woman trying to leave the hospital too early for one reason or
Yeah.
another. And it's like, I can't make these decisions now. What makes me think I'll make these decisions when we have universal health care, which I wish at times I've had universal health care. I've torn up my knee more than
Yeah.
once, and that costs
Yeah.
tens of thousands of dollars. In fact, one of my last
Yeah.
bills before insurance took care of most of it was $90,000 for the operation to clean up my
Yeah.
knee. Wild
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
What?
You
That's
should
like a
never
bad
see a bill with
house.
that. Yeah.
What is $90,000?
Yeah.
Take it back. Golly.
It's like, and then it's like things that you don't even have a choice.
Yeah.
Like if you're in an accident and you're taken to the hospital
They
and then
just
they give
worked
you a
on
bill, and
you.
it's like, yeah, and it's like,
Y'all
so
should have
now
let
my
me
kids
die.
can't eat or my
Right.
family, like exactly.
It,
Like at least they would have got some life insurance money, right?
right. Or hopefully, right.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I mean it's a very difficult thing and I'm still trying to figure out where the lines are because I do understand that neither political party has been particularly giving to the black community.
Sure.
Like it's one does a better job of pandering.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to us saying that we're going to get a Supreme Court nominee that's a black woman.
Sounds
Yeah,
good in theory.
sounds good, right? And then another who says that we give black people jobs. So there's this two-sided part of it, and it's just like there's got to be a better option, and there needs to be some way that we can hold these people's feet to the fire because just plastering a black face, going back to the thing about like being a prop, is not sufficient. And we need to take our voting power and think about that and like not just throw it one way or the other because one party did something that made us angry today. So we're just going to go with the other one, even though we
Man,
really don't.
I don't know how we're going to release this in regards to a chronological order, but I just had a conversation with Shermichael Singleton. He worked on campaigns for Mitt Romney, Ben Carson. He worked under Ben Carson while he was still in the White House. And so
Mm-hmm.
he does a lot of TV right now, commentator stuff. And, he admitted it too. Like, really, we have two parties that don't really do anything. They're just
Yeah.
they don't even write their own bills. And at the end of the day, like they just kind of doing nothing for the people they claim they're doing stuff for, and it's just so frustrating, so
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, what
And
what
then
do
it's
we
like you
do?
throw, I don't know, but I just think it's a matter of, like I said, holding people's feet to the fire. If someone comes to your district and says they're going to do something, you then knock on their door when they don't do it. Because people don't like being in uncomfortable situations.
Absolutely not.
Because like they look great on TV, but they're still people. Like
Oh
they don't
yeah.
like to be uncomfortable. They don't like to be called out on their mess. And then honestly, like we can't just watch networks and read articles that make us comfortable. Because especially in the 2A community, like I don't come across 100% of people who look like me or think like me on any given day.
No.
And I need to be able to talk to them. So sometimes I got to read some other stuff. Just be like, oh, okay, that's why you think that. Because I've seen you shoot. I've seen you with your family. I see that you are a competent individual. There's no way that the narrative that you're just an idiot is the end of it.
Mm-hmm. No, and
So you have to learn. Yeah.
that's the interesting thing because it's like, man, we really do kind of run to our sides of things, and we don't say like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
like, why does this person think this way? Let me try to explain why I think this way. Find that in between. Yeah, we're not going to agree, but let's try to find something. And I think the
Right.
hard part is oftentimes when you give an inch, a mile is taken. And we've seen
Mm-hmm.
that so much. And it's so you have like these hardcore, really like conservative dudes who are like, We came to the table and we did gun control stuff, and y'all took everything. Took everything.
Yeah.
There was assault rifle
Yeah.
ban, this and this and that, and like, why would we do that again? So I think there's a conversation about good faith, but also at the end of the day, we have to try. Not saying that we have to
Yeah.
try to give away our gun rights necessarily, but we have to try to have conversations that are bigger than just firearms. If we're gonna, can I say that on TV?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh man, that's where I am.
uh, yeah, no, that's 100% right. And it's a matter of not just having like the conversations, but my husband brought me another shot to
There you go.
lose it. Um, but it's a matter of like talking about all these things and how they influence more people than the people who look like you.
Mm,
And so it's about coming from finding some common ground and then having the conversation. Because like you said, like if you talk about gun control and the Democratic Party line is, it's not like verbatim, but obviously like something along the lines of down with guns, right?
sure.
So have you ever shot a gun? Do you know what an AR-15 is? Because they like to say semi-automatic weapon, and like that's a pistol.
That's some shotguns.
Someone in your family probably has one under a mattress where they should.
Right.
Like, but the narrative gets really icky, and it's just kind of like maybe we can take a step back and talk about it, a little
Mm-hmm.
bit better and use better words, and then understand like when they say semi-automatic weapon, like I shouldn't automatically think like, oh my God, it's a full auto killing machine, because it's not.
Right.
Someone took a tool and decided to do a bad thing with it. That can happen no matter what laws are passed. What can you do as an individual to protect yourself in the event that happens? Like, yeah, obviously you're scared.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to be in a situation in a grocery store where you feel like your life is on the line for no reason of your own and you're defenseless. That's why I have these.
Sure. And
So,
even still, I don't want to be in a situation where I have to use one. That's
exactly.
not on my list of things to encounter. In fact, those are things that I like to avoid.
Yeah. But that's why I use the grocery store example, because you're not doing anything wrong. You're like, your wife told you to go grab some grapes.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
keep grapes in the house.
Yeah. Like, you're like, all right, honey, you want some grapes? I'd be happy to go grab you some. Like,
Right.
you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't put yourself in any undue hurt. Like,
Mm-hmm.
these are the kinds of things, but I think that the narrative has to change a little bit, and we just kind of have to see things from everyone's for like an everyday person doesn't necessarily need, like I said, like I have these, like everyone doesn't need that. Most people shouldn't have that. It's excessive. But at the same time, you should learn how to use a firearm in order to protect yourself. Because going around being scared is not the answer. Trying to take it from law abiding citizens is not the answer. Because is the criminal going to give it to you? No. Who's going to
Is
give up
that
your
a
gun? It's going to
question?
be, yeah, like, if you're going to be like, hey guys, I want to take everyone's guns. If you have a gun, please give it to me. Like, the criminal is not going to be the person who's like, oh yeah, definitely, here you go. Like,
They weren't
that's not
supposed
the
to have
guy.
it in the first place. They got warrants right
Ex-
now.
exactly. So at least let me have mine, because, like, what's the saying is, like, um, you need to defend yourself in seconds and please take minutes.
Right. When
Yeah.
seconds count, police
Yeah.
are minutes away.
When seconds count, yeah. Please are minutes away.
In
Like,
some cases, they can be more than an hour away. I know a girl suffering from domestic violence, and she had a
yeah,
restraining order. They took over an hour to get to her.
yeah. When I was growing up, I had someone who was explaining that, like, she received a threat
Hmm.
and she had a restraining order, and they're like, well, is he there? No, but he told me he was on his way. Well, call us back when he's there.
Stop. You're kidding.
Like, yeah.
This is
I
a
mean,
joke.
like,
Oh my
yeah.
god.
I can't say it's the
He
law of
said,
opinion, but this was like, yeah.
he
Like, these
said,
are the
call us
things that
back
can
when he
happen.
gets there. I.
Okay, yeah. He said he's on his way. Like, okay, well, is he there? Like, I can't do anything. He's not there. Like, a restraining order is a piece of paper.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if I can't depend on the state or any particular individual, the state, my husband, who's also very proficient in firearms, which is honestly unique within any population, um, he's not with me 100% of the time. And then the question also comes down to, it's like Des always says, like, what if they get him first? He's bigger. They're probably gonna take him down first, and I'm supposed to just be like, "Ooh, sorry, honey, you can't do anything."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean
Whereas,
that's the scenario. They shoot him, they grab you.
yeah,
Like that's the scenario.
yeah. So like, not only and I think sometimes certain people, like men, need to get over the fact that they can't just be the sole protector of the family because you are literally the target. I'm gonna have to be the person that may have to handle that situation. Um, I'm his best teammate. I'm his best defensive person. Like, he's my person. I'm his person. Like, why not be a good team together and just defend ourselves and exert the rights that are, not only bestowed on us by the Constitution, but just, as a human.
I'm gonna say it right now for all my guys out here training with your range buddies. Tell them you can't come to that day. This is what you're doing. You're taking your wife to
Yeah.
the range, and she's gonna be your new range buddy. Sorry guys, I'm busy. I'm not at
Yeah. I
home.
mean, like,
I'm on the
she's
range.
there. You're gonna call your buddies like, hey guys, someone's in the house. That CQB we practice, it's on. Be on your like. You might as well call the cops at that
You
point.
might as well. In fact, if you call somebody else, they're gonna charge you. They'd be like, "This man, he called and did all sorts of extra stuff. That wasn't self defense anymore. He
Yeah.
planned the whole thing." No, but seriously, like this is take your wives to the range. I'm guilty of it too, guys. Like, don't think I'm trying to pretend like I'm special. Guilty of it too. Take your wives to the range.
Send
Train
her
with
with
her.
me. Send her with me. We'll have fun.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she'd love you. You guys are both way
Yeah.
too driven.
Oh no, I can chill. I promise I can chill.
Nah, it's cool. No,
Um,
it's a good thing. Don't change. Don't change for anybody.
no, it's yeah. I can only be me, is what I always say.
Do it.
But like one of the things that I thought was interesting was we were having a conversation with one of our Caucasian friends who has like you would never think, but has like really made a serious effort to understand the Black experience. And it was very interesting because he was talking about things, and I'm like, you don't understand what it's like to feel that if an intruder was in my house and I'm afraid to call my husband because if my husband is lurking around my house in the dark with a gun because he just pulled up and I said someone's in the house, I'm afraid the cops are going to shoot him. So I have a particular responsibility to put that threat down before I call him or the cops.
Hmm.
Or, because if they see the guy, like he's looking in windows, like, hey, what's going on? There's a strange car, or he's investigating. He looks like a suspect.
That's
Even though his name is on the deed.
but they don't have the access to the deed right away. They have to do all sorts of extra
Right.
stuff, and it's
Yeah.
clear that nobody does all the extra stuff because we've seen plenty of instances of somebody locked out of their own house trying to figure out how to get in, unlocking their door,
Yeah.
and the cops show up and it's like, "Hey, do you live here?" Like college professors going through that.
Yeah.
It's like
Exactly.
wearing my cardigan and my big glasses. Oh yes, of course. I'm trying to get into my house. Yeah, I'm using the wrong accent.
Yeah.
But it's like what the heck? Like this happens all the
Yeah.
time, and I'm not trying to go on and be
And
like,
it's like district attorneys who are African American or prosecutors that are African American that are getting the same sort of treatment.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've
like you
seen
get
that.
pulled over with your family, and it's like, all right, on Monday, we're gonna handle this. But right
Right.
now, yes, officer, here are my identification credentials, and go feel free to search my car with all my children in it. This
Right.
is awesome.
And
We're going on vacation.
I'm not trying to make it like all about like being black is the hardest thing ever, and you have to feel sorry for me and
No,
all
yeah,
this because it's not really like that. But I do think it's important to understand like there's a certain level of responsibility and a high level of understanding and intelligence that you have to have if you're gonna have a life that's kind of free of certain friction, and even still you can
right,
run into that friction of being misidentified or you're driving I had a guy who was driving a car, not really speeding or anything, and the police they wanted to harass him up and down, and it's not strange. It's not strange, and I'm not some cop hater. I've had cops on this show before. We have a fine relationship, but I do know that there are some problems, especially if you're in the gun community. You got to know this. There are some problems with the state and state-run institutions that they have a lot of
yeah,
power to do whatever the heck they want to do to you. And
yeah,
where does that stop? Who's going to enforce those red flag laws? They are enforced by the same people that you wave to when you leave the donut shop, stereotypically.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a hard thing, and I'm never one of those people who's just like every time I'm afraid to go out the door, I'm afraid
Oh,
or anything
jeez.
like that. Like I think
I
but you
don't think
have
that's
to
healthy.
just no, it's not. And you never like you carry your firearm, you never actually want to use it. Like that's the day, like every day you walk out, that's not you're not like, hey, today's the day where I hope someone tries to rob me. Like no,
Oh, jeez.
that that's the like that's
That's mental
literally the
illness,
last thing
bro.
you ever want.
That's
You're
mental
right.
illness. Yeah.
That that's not what you want at all. But at the same time, when you are living this particular lifestyle and you are African American, there are certain factors that you have to think of that click before anything else. Like I've seen, videos of Caucasian law students who've been pulled over and they were just like talking about all the rights that they had and saying that people didn't have, the right to ask me this or all you can ask me for is this or that and all these things. Uh, yeah, I personally wouldn't do that. I go, I was also in law school. This is the same jurisdiction. Kind of not my thing. Hey, here, officer, here's my license and ID, and I'm gonna try to keep my hands on the steering wheel and chill as
Oh,
much as
every
possible.
time I'm slapping my IDs, all everything, my keys, everything's on the dash. My hands are up here.
Yeah,
You can't
yeah,
say. What, you think I got a third arm?
yeah.
I probably got a
And
gun
then
in the
like
car, but my hands is up here.
yeah, I'm not this person. Hey, here's my law license. Like, no, we're just gonna do the thing that, yeah, like we're just gonna do what we have to do and
Jeez.
move on. So there is a point of, I think, getting other communities to understand that as well, and not even just from the Black perspective, but just overall, because
Hmm.
I think sometimes other communities have a tendency to get surprised when they don't get the right reaction that they think they should have. Shout out to the January 6th crowd. They're like, hey, like you're stopping me? Like, what do you mean? Like, it's it's a level of respect that everyone needs to give. It's just in the forefront of
Hmm.
Black people's minds.
Yeah, and
And like,
here's something that's really really interesting. I'm sorry to cut you off. Super interesting.
yeah,
There are plenty of instances of white citizens being completely brutalized, straight up cold blooded murdered by law enforcement and people acting in those capacities. So let's not to say that the issues that we are talking about don't matter, because they
yeah,
absolutely do and they're absolutely real. So let's clear that up. But we can absolutely ascertain the fact that, geez, I didn't use that word correctly, but like, geez, like this
yeah,
happens to other people too. It's not,
yeah,
and so the fact, let's not pretend like the police never do anything bad. They absolutely do.
right,
They absolutely
yeah,
documented. We've had entire police forces basically dismissed and written up because they had a whole
yeah,
scheme. Like one in Baltimore, look this up, Maryland and Baltimore, wherever it was. They would
yeah,
see a group of kids playing outside and they would speed up as fast as they could, basically almost driving into the crowd, slam on brakes, watch them scatter, get out the car and run and chase them down and be like, why are you running? Like this actually happened.
wow. I actually haven't heard about that.
Look it up.
Yeah,
Fact check me.
no,
Somebody
I
fact
will.
check me.
Yeah, yeah, I will look that up. I have actually not heard
Yeah.
that.
There have been
I
instances
mean,
of cops going in and stealing money out of a person's safe, like ten thousand
yeah,
dollars or more, just stolen. Like
yeah.
this stuff
I
happens.
remember. Yeah, I remember my first instance with a cop was when I was in middle school and I was at engineering camp for the summer at a university.
Hmm.
And earlier in the day, we were all like walking to different departments to do different activities and things like that. And earlier in the day, we were running late. So one of the counselors said, hey, guys, run. And so we ran to the class because we were running late, got there, whatever. Later on in the day, we saw everyone in front of us start running. So we assumed that the same thing had happened. Well, as it turns out, the kids were throwing candy back and forth because they were giving us candy all day. And one of the candies hit a cop car.
Oh
And
what?
he assumed that it's like someone threw a rock at his car. And it was a whole thing. He made us all stop. We had to go sit in the dorm. They wouldn't let it call our parents and things like that. And it's just like, what is happening here? Like, someone threw a rock at your car, and it's like, no, it was the Skittles. And he was like, well, why did you guys all run? If you weren't doing it, why did you? And they were like, and there's literally like 120 kids,
Do I need a
and we're
reason?
all black. Yeah, like,
Golly.
so it was just like that was my first encounter. That was just like, huh, I'm different because even though I grew up in Detroit, my experience was a little bit different.
Mm.
Like I grew up in a pretty affluent neighborhood. I went to public schools, but I went to the most prestigious of them. I went to Cass Tech. Anyone from Detroit knows who Cass Tech is. It was a little bit different. But at this point, I was in middle school. But yeah, it was just realizing that I can't outpace my identity, no matter how much I excel. And as much as that was a traumatizing experience, it was also a beautiful experience to be like, hey, like let's embrace this and excel in it and, expound on the beauty of it because no matter how many good grades I get, how hard I work, I can't be that. And that's okay. There's other things that I can be that are amazing. And that is why it's so important to see Black faces doing amazing things
That's right. That's right.
in every space, whether they're white spaces or Black spaces or international, like wherever they are, you need to see people who look like you doing great because you're everybody's not the same no matter what.
Absolutely.
Whether you have a disability or skin color or whatever, like everyone is different.
We're all different. And I think that uniqueness kind of in a sense is empowering and can make us powerful if we know how to channel
Yeah.
these things correctly. And I do think it's super interesting because so often, and I'm going to speak directly to the Black community, so often we use things like politics or skin complexion, like colorism and whatnot, for those who care,
Yeah.
and different little barometers of Blackness, like, oh well, you lived, Rayna, you're not really Black, like you're faking this Black experience. Look at you, you're all sorts of light skin, your hair is not the 4C super crinky hair, so like why are you even complaining? You straighten your hair for years
Yeah.
anyways. And they could say all sorts of like
Yeah.
really degrading things to you.
And I
In
experienced
truth,
all of that.
I know you did.
Yeah.
I know you did because I have
Yeah.
too. And it makes you wonder, like,
Yeah.
man, am I not Black enough for my Black people? And this is coming
Yeah.
from
And
a
then
very painful place. Me even saying this to you.
yeah, it is a very painful place. Like even like girls that weren't the same complexion as me or were like we were in high school and they're like, I want to marry a light skinned guy or a white guy because I want my kid to have a particular
Yes.
complexion or a particular type of hair.
We're going
And
there.
it's like my parents are both chocolate. This is how I came out. My mom's sister and her husband, both my color. Kids are all chocolate. Everyone's beautiful. We all have a good time. Like it doesn't matter. Like why are you trying to do some sort of weird genetic engineering? Like maybe think about the person you're going to marry and what are they bringing to the table? What kind of
Absolutely.
lifestyle do you want to have? Do you have to share values? Like why do you care what color he is? Like do you
Absolutely.
get what you sound like?
No, and I actually had a previous guest on the show that made a comment that some people agreed and some people very much disagreed, talking about how
Yeah.
if you're going to basically be for the Black community, you need to be selective about who you marry, and that selection should include skin color. And many people disagreed strongly, and I'm perfectly fine with disagreeing. I let him say what he had to
Yeah.
say. I disagree
Yeah.
personally. That said, you're right. You shouldn't. Color has nothing to do with your ability to love a person well, with your ability to care about yourself and respect yourself, with your ability
Yeah.
to think about your children and your grandchildren, to pass down a legacy of excellence so that you can represent everyone well. Like it has nothing to do with that. And maybe somehow it can come up in conversation, but that's kind of the least relevant thing if we're being honest.
Yeah.
When it comes up, we can acknowledge it, we can kind of talk about it a little bit, but that's such a personal thing. Like don't
Yeah.
degrade people for these things. And I'm even talking about specifically, you see a lot of Black conservatives who date and marry white women, and like that shouldn't be the barometer on which you judge people. Do they love themselves? Do they love the community they claim to represent? Yes, no? Well, then we can judge them there. But
Yeah.
there are other things. Sorry, kind of went a little bit of a rabbit trail, but that's something I've been thinking about lately. My wife is Black,
Yeah.
for all those who care.
Just throw that out there.
Just got to throw it out there.
Yeah.
Very
I
chocolatey.
thought that the colorism, I actually experienced it a little bit differently. I think like Detroit has a little bit like more of a spectrum of colorism down here.
Mm.
Like I never been called light skin or yellow bone until I moved to Texas.
Oh
Like
God.
I knew it was a thing.
Yeah.
People would say it in jest, but I would literally walk into a store and they'll be like, "Hey, light skin," and
Oh
I'm like,
my.
who? Like, yeah, that was new to me moving here. Um, but something that like I think is interesting is that like the I have walked past the Black Israelites and got a little bit of hate
Oh
with
jeez.
my husband. They're like, "Hey, brother, blah blah, what are you doing with her?" And
Oh
I'm like,
my
"Are
God.
you
No.
serious?
Oh. Woo.
Like, do you know me? Like, I'm coming from
Jeez.
Mississippi and Alabama. Like,
Yo.
I can't help that I came out a little high yellow, but yeah, that's never fun."
Oh my God. I'm dying.
And then it's
This
like
is
you see my
crazy.
parents, and it's like, "Oh, okay, you really are black." And I'm like, "Yeah, I tried to tell
I
you.
mean,
I thought
genetics
you."
is genetic. Man, it sucks because I'm gonna have some people who maybe don't fully understand because they want to be supportive and listen and get some information. But for those who
Yeah,
get it, they get it, and I really hope that
yeah,
you guys can maybe take some of this to heart. And if you are some of the people talking like this, like just know that it affects people deeply.
hmm,
Use your powers for good,
yeah,
please. Like imagine imagine a little girl, 7 years old, hearing this, not maybe to her, but hearing this to somebody like her. Imagine the damage. Use your words
yeah,
carefully. Your words are powerful.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
all I have
Like
to say about that.
I can handle it. I've been there. It's all good, but it's not fair to the little girls who feel like, hey, I should look a certain kind of way, and like Toni
Mm-hmm.
Morrison's "The Bluest Eye." Like I need blue eyes to be like okay. Like that is not how anybody should see themselves. Like
Mm-hmm.
you are beautiful in your own way, and you have talent and prowess, and let's talk about that.
I love it. Man, I love it. Last topic, and then we'll get out of here. Now, I know we
Okay.
talked a lot about you and being a representative in firearms and teaching and training and all these stuff, all awesome. But let's talk specifically to women, talking about firearms training, taking it to a different level. Obviously, so many people have been to indoor ranges and so many people have shot their little Sky 380 gun. I'm having an aneurysm just thinking about it. And but let's take their training to the next level. What are some practical steps that we can give people to go to the next level, and what do you have to say about these things?
Okay. You know, I struggle with this in terms of branding of myself because I'm like really out there and I have a wall of guns. And I'm trying to let people know that this is my life because I'm trying to help you guys and I'm trying to do a thing. Uh, just take your time, but make an investment in your safety. So when you want to go out and get the sky plus like, hey, I can afford this today, it's not going to help you in a situation. Now you've just pulled a gun on people. And this is what I tell people. Like now you've escalated this encounter to a gunfight. And if I'm doing that, I'm planning on winning the gunfight.
Mm,
If I pull a gun out, this is not like maybe the guy was just going to snatch my purse. But now I've pulled a gun out and this is a gunfight. If I do that, I'm going to win the gunfight. So obviously, I'm not saying, hey, go buy $1,000 pistol and put an optic on it and then like go train with the Marines. No, but I'm here to help you bridge those gaps. And people like me are here to help you bridge those gaps. So buy a reliable firearm. If it takes you, you were planning on getting it this week. If it's going to take you 3 weeks, go ahead, pay the couple hundred more dollars, get a good gun. Then go with a reputable instructor. And I get this a lot where people are like, you need to help your community and not charge them. I'm sorry, everything costs money. And for me to provide you with a quality service, I'm not your girlfriend that's like, hey, I got a gun. I'll show you how to use it. Like, no, I have trained and I have skills and I have abilities that I can share with you. And that's another reason why I have the a la carte classes where you can just like, hey, I'm going to pay $50. Just come to the range with me and show me how my gun works. Let's do that. Let's get comfortable. Then let's practice drawing from a holster and let's do a thing and let's talk about safety and do it. Like take your time, but take every step very carefully, thoughtfully, and do the right thing that's best for you. So you don't have to run and gun and do all the things that I do. And I'm really struggling on how to find the balance in terms of what I like show people.
mm-hmm.
Because I want you to know, like, hey, I'm still a girl. Like we can go hang out at the range. Like we don't have to run and like shoot from barrels and like climb on stuff. Like that's not what we got to do today. Like today, let's just learn. But then like after you do that, hey, let's go outside. If you got some time away from the kids and you have whatever, let's go outside. Let's move around a little bit. And then let's talk about, all right, let's get some more gear, some more equipment. Because at the end of the day, if anything the last few years have told us is that you can't predict everything. Anything can happen. Social services can be down, food can be insecure, any of those things. And at the end of the day, as much as people may not want to admit it, like women are the backbone of a lot of families, and you are responsible for the lives of your household. So if a war happens and they send your husband away, which you're like, oh, he's over a certain age, anything can happen. You need to be able to hold it down for you and yours and protect not only you and your children, but your husband as well, or whatever partner you have or whatever. So take your time, do it properly. You don't have to do, you know, you don't have to get like, I need a Safari Land tactical setup that's going to cost me $600. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being able to use your firearm for whatever your life is. If you're pumping gas or you're at the grocery store or you're picking your kids up or whatever, or if someone gets in your house at night, it is your responsibility. Unfortunately, I wish we didn't live in this sort of society to handle that threat and protect you and yours, because no one else cares about them as much as you do. I'm sorry, no one else does. The politicians can say, oh, I love working class Americans and I'll make sure every little girl can sleep well in her bed at night. People get hurt all the time. And, you know, there's a hierarchy of people and priorities. Who's at the top of yours? Your family. So just like keep that in mind and do everything you can to make that reality. Like they are safe.
Absolutely. Wow.
And also, guys, don't scare women into getting guns. It doesn't work.
Many a husband does that. Many husbands do it.
Like,
hey, babe, look at this video. We got to get more. We got to get you a gun. Look at this woman getting robbed at this and this and that.
Yeah. Do you want to get raped? Like that's awesome.
That's the motivation right there. That's happy images. Like gosh, way to traumatize somebody into not wanting a gun.
Like, hey, just, you know, guys have fun shooting guns. You know, some women don't have as much fun the first time, but like it's fun. So let's just go to the range and have a little fun, and then at the end of the day, be a little safer.
So last question. Recently, you homegirl Destiny or Des, Nina De La Flores, for those who know her as that, I love her to death. She's great. She's really doing her thing on Instagram, really kind of growing her platform. And she came to you recently. Tell me about that.
I mean, it was absolutely amazing because I followed her for a while and I honestly didn't know that she existed. I'm not the best at social media. Like, I don't like doing cute TikTok-y stuff. I try, but like posting is not my deal. I'm going to get better at it because reach is important and representation is important. But she is killing that. So like when she recommended me and some other like Black 2A women in the community to someone who was like, hey, I wish I could train with someone like you in my area. And then I was like, hey, I'm here, you know, after she tagged me. And she was just like, I actually want to train with you too. And I'm like, what? Well, let's go. And like, she's super awesome. Like, she asked the right questions. And, you know, like, it was a really fun experience to have someone else that, you know, is taking this game seriously. Because there's so many people here who do I'm a trainer or a coach or whatever, can't shoot. She can shoot.
No, she's good. So, she's nice with it.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that you guys had some time together, just because I love to see us collaboration over competition, slap it on a t-shirt. But like, what, as you as an instructor, what do you feel like you maybe could offer? Maybe, I don't want to disclose like all the things that you had to teach her, but like, what are some things that you can teach other instructors that perhaps maybe they might not just have by themselves? Like, what's the point of training under other instructors?
I think I just take a little bit of a different perspective to it because I did the like shooting on the line thing. And then it was like, all right, let's go outside and train with some Marines, and not just like someone who was a Marine, like a reputable Marine who knows how to use a gun. That is what I decided to do. And then it was just like, when I opened my eyes, I was like, this isn't what we're all doing. And there's no reason why women should feel like they can't do what the guys do. There's no reason why we should spend all these hours and ammunition trying to get that perfect little grouping at 5 yards. It's not going to help you. So let's move around. Let's get stressful. Let's get stressed out. Let's try different situations. Let's understand cover and things like that. So when I start off a class or someone meets me, I'm like, hey, what are your goals? And some people are just like, I want to be more safe. I want to be more secure in my house. Or I don't want to be afraid to go get gas at night. I'm going to tell you, avoid that as much as possible. Getting gas at night. At the same time, like, all right, like, let's work on that, you know? And then when you're ready, let's escalate this thing, because honestly, the threats are not limited to the creepy guy at the gas station right now, nor that they have ever necessarily been. So I think as a community, we need to step it up, and there's no reason why women can't be just as good as soldiers as anyone else. So I'm gonna teach you how to shoot online. I'm gonna teach you how to draw. I'm gonna teach you all these things. But then, like, once we get real comfortable, let's go outside and get dirty.
Let's do it. I love it.
Yeah.
Rayna, thank you so much. Was there anything else we need to cover? Because I definitely want to tell people where they can find you.
Okay. Well, we have you can find me at Coach Rains Esquire on Instagram, and then also G4_tactical on Instagram. That's my company page. And then G4 Tactical on YouTube will be coming with lots of content, reviews, and just us having a little fun at the range. And, you know, I am a workaholic, as you mentioned, like, I'm pretty intense. So message me anytime. I do have like a work-life balance. Like, I do have a rule, like, I kind of shut it off at like 8 o'clock so like me and my husband can spend time together, but I'm up at 5. I check my messages. So just reach out, ask me a question. I can send you a video and, you know, support Black business.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And not just any business that happens to be Black. People who are putting out quality work, who are representing the brand overall. And that's what I like to see, because I know sometimes we say, oh, support Black business. That's great and all. Support people who are doing it.
Yeah.
Let's get that.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating because I get a lot of messages that are like, hey, what equipment should I buy, or what brand should I go to? And I'm like, literally, I have made everybody money today but me. I was like, yeah, now you have a real cool setup. Like, you want to go to the range and let's shoot? Oh no, something hurt or whatever. It's like, yeah, but you just told me you bought something else from someone else. So
that's hard. I
check
get
out
that.
check out some Black-owned brands as well. And I'm trying to do a better job of reaching out. So if any of you guys have them, like, let me know, because I would like to refer you guys to them, because apparently I can make a lot of people a lot of money.
Hey, you know what? I've got some friends, and we should definitely make sure that we're supporting the brands that we believe in, supporting brands that have support brands that, you know, share your values. I know for me, myself, and I just plug the Patreon. I normally do it earlier, but I will do it now. Definitely, if you like these programs, if you like these conversations, please, please, please consider joining the Patreon for a monthly gift. We're doing a couple cool things, including basically exclusive private meet and greets, Q&A type sessions where people like Rayna, I didn't ask you, but people like Rayna will come in and
we'll just,
well, normally I do it offline. Normally I'm just like, hey, now that we've done the conversation, do you want to? So I guess here it is.
The gun. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you jumped it, but I brought it up. I shouldn't have brought it up. So it sounds like Rayna wants to have a private VIP Q&A where we can all sit down and kind of just talk and, you know, find out more about her. If you have any questions, you could ask her personally, hop on a Zoom call. We could do it. And really, that's not the reason why you sign up. You sign up because you want to support what we're doing here, but that is a bonus. So thank you so much in advance if that's what you want to do. But also, really, more importantly, support the people who come on this show. Make it encouraging for them. So check out Rayna. Give her a follow. That is free. The follow is free. So the subscription, super free. It's like, that's it. Yeah. Barely burned a calorie. So let's do that.
I promise you, I'll make you laugh at least once, or piss you off. Either way.
Either way, and people like to be a little pissed off. People like that. Yeah. People, man. Yeah. I talked about. I said this one time in a tweet. I said that if you want to be concerned about criminal justice system, make sure you're not dodging your jury
I
duty.
saw that.
People got mad. People got big mad.
Yeah.
Not everybody. A lot of people
Yeah.
shared it. A lot of people liked it. But I saw a lot of people saw it and they just kept it moving. I'm like,
Yeah.
they got mad.
Yeah. Don't say the quiet part.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't say
Or,
the
like,
quiet
we're
part
trying to keep it-
aloud.
Yeah, but like I've gotten a lot of like messages recently who have said like, "Thank you, you've motivated me," and my reach isn't even that great right now.
Yeah.
So like even seeing that, it's motivating because like I said, I'm not the greatest at posting or doing the social media thing. I promise I'm gonna get better. But to know that like me telling someone to meal prep today or go for a walk or clean your firearm actually got you some incentive to do those things and maybe made you more safe or healthier today, it's really motivating for me as well. So
Excellent.
yeah.
That's so good. Guys, it's bigger than
Like
guns.
it took me nothing to tell you, but I'm glad it helped.
Right.
Like
I,
because
I
I was
burned
kind
I
of
burned 3
myself.
calories with my thumbs right here.
Right? It's like, hey guys, go for a walk. I'm just like, shit, I need to go for a walk too.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, you know, I love this show right now because I'm trying to make it bigger than guns. It's more than about guns. It's about you. It's about your family.
Yeah.
It's about changing your community. Yeah. It's about changing the world. And if we can change you and your family, we can change a lot. So I love that G4 is doing that too.
That's what it's literally all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the guns are cool, but the guns are here for a purpose. They're a purpose-driven tool. And I think sometimes we forget that, being like gun guys and whatnot. I don't know that I'm really a gun guy, but I'm in it. So that said, guys, thank you so much. Rayna, thank you so much for coming on. We got to get Isaac on here next. That glorious man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
I have to bring him cocktails and that one.
Oh, yeah, that'll be great. You got to bring the meal preps. He's just going to eat.
I'll bring him food and he can like eat while he's
right.
on here.
Just.
Yeah, he's the cocktail guy. So cheers to Coach Griff Shoots. He's my bartender. He made me a classic old fashioned. So
there you go. There you go.
Cheers.
Thank you, Coach. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and keep it costly.